Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Firsties. I'm your host, Mila. As always, before I get into this episode, which I'm really excited about because of the specific guests, I always want to say, I want to give thanks to anyone right now who's listening, watching, subscribing, doing all the things, commenting as well. I really appreciate you. It makes my day. It really does. So please continue to do that. And also the people who are sharing, that really helps me out a lot. So again, I really do appreciate it. Now that we've gotten that all out of the way, lastly, of course, please make sure you follow Firsties everywhere. That's Firsties, P-O-D, everywhere. So now let's get into the guest, the exciting part, why you guys are all here. I have Leif here. Now, before Leif says anything, I have a whole intro for him, which I'm really excited to read. He's like, what is the intro? So I have musician, sound engineer, producer, one half of Lucid, 1/4 of the WRIZZARDS. You wear a lot of hats. But I think your talent, you have more than enough talent to wear all of them. I have Leif here. You could say hi if you want.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Leif, Leify_tree on all social media platforms. Mila, thank you for having me. This is such a pleasure.
He's like a professional. It's just like, we were just talking off camera how when he came here, usually I have to tell the guest, like, you know, here, get comfortable. This is the mic. He already was like adjusting his own mic. It was just like, hey, take over the show. Like, I love it. Yeah. And speaking about that, I know you kind of want to touch about this. One of the reasons why I was able to start this podcast and get all the equipment that I needed, because again, I'm a firstie, right? I'm the first in my family to kind of do something like this. Leif, who's a sound engineer, which I met through our mutual friend and your partner, music partner, Matt. I saw that he was a sound engineer. So I was like, hey, what equipment do I need? Where do I even start? Because I know you're an independent artist as well. And him and Matt were so sweet to come over. We had dinner and we were there for hours and you were just giving me advice. Like, it really means a lot. And I've told you this off camera as well. But you gave me your undivided attention for hours on end. We were there till like 2 a.m. It was a long time. Yeah. And you just give me advice. And I think you giving me that kind of advice or the feedback that I needed to even get started, because I want to make sure like I got the right stuff or what made sense. Because again, also budget is tight. So I had to make sure I was making the right decision. Really means a lot, Leif, especially someone who's as successful as you are, which we'll get into all of that in just a second. So we're going to jump right into this episode. Now, the one thing I want to talk about, I know you guys see the title here. We're going to be talking about family values and community. But before we get into that, Leif, I would love for you to tell our Firsties audience a little bit about yourself, wherever you want to take it, from your diaper days, from yesterday, wherever you want to take it. I'll let you kind of start from there.
Sounds good. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you on an amazing podcast and amazing production. I've seen it on Reels and YouTube. Matt was just here as well, and I saw his episode. It looks really good, and now it's an honor to come in and see how it's set up and how much work you put into it. And thank you for allowing me to help you design, the sound stuff. But
thank you.
This is great. You're working really hard.
Thank you.
But yeah, what's up, everybody? My name is Leif. I am a producer, engineer, artist, songwriter, musician. And yeah, I've been doing music all my life. Got it from my family. We were very huge in church, and my parents were basically musicians in our church community. And since I was a baby, they would take me to rehearsals, and I've just been involved in music. Okay. And that was in the Philippines. And then I moved to the States around 2005. And then, in choir, I joined choir in elementary school. Join as many music outlets as I can. My parents really saw that, this kid is going to be a musician. So they really supported me growing up. And yeah, now I run my own studio called Backhouse Studios in Springfield. I also play a lot of gigs around the area, work with many artists, including the WRIZZARDS, which we'll get into a little later on. And yeah, that's a little background about me.
So I know one thing you said is about your family and how they kind of knew you were going to be a star in music, and I've seen them front row at your shows, which is really always sweet to see. Do you think, was there ever, because that's a very specific experience. And even though we come from different cultures, we also don't. Like there's definitely some commonalities in all of our cultures. Like I know not everyone in your family are musicians, right? There are people who went the very standard route, which there's nothing wrong with that. So do you think it was easier for you to kind of reach for the stars because you had the support from your family, or was it something where you saw, like, you know, when we're young, our parents, they seem like superheroes to us, so we kind of follow in their lead. And if you're around all these musicians, like you mentioned, coming from a religious family as well, do you think it was easier for you? I want to get your feedback on that.
Yeah, honestly, it's like a mix. You know, my parents are still very traditional, and, you know, I've inherited a lot of traditional values from them as well. But, you know, they saw that I was talented, and they, you know, invested growing up in lessons and everything, but they didn't actually think I was for real. They didn't actually think I was gonna go as hard as I am.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna, quote unquote, get a real job according to their standards.
Your standards, yeah.
They just thought, oh, like he'll try it, and then, you know, he's good at it. That's his passion. But then when I said, no, this is my career. This is what I want to do. That took a little longer for them to accept. And as much as they still believed in me, there's a lot of that traditional values that kind of, you know, they start comparing me to my friends growing up, or my cousins. It's like, oh, this is a doctor, this is a lawyer. And it's not that they don't believe in me and they don't believe that I will succeed, but it's more so just, you know, I think you could relate to this as well in your culture. There's that sense of like security, and then like we came to this country to make sure you're secure and you don't live the life that I lived growing up and everything. And there could be some toxicness to that, but the way I think of it is that you guys work really hard to get me here. And in our lineage, our ancestors, they all lived a very, you know, I'm not saying they weren't happy, but they definitely lived a way less secure life than what you guys are giving me. And if I could be that person to set an example for the rest of our family, like, hey, this is possible. Because my dad came from the mountains of the Philippines. Like, he would tell me stories about walking miles to get to school, and all of his cousins and some of his brothers are all like drug addicts and, you know, get into crime. My mom's the same way. They're the only two people in my family that actually worked hard to get themselves out of the situation. So I always feel, and I always tell them that if you guys didn't do what you did, I wouldn't be able to have this and be able to even think of fulfilling a dream that's not just making money or being a, how do you call it? Like being like everyone else. You gave me the chance to be able to get off my comfort zone, get off the box of Filipinos everywhere, and be an artist, be a musician.
Right. Wow. There's a million points I want to talk about, which is why I wanted Leif to come on here. One thing you mentioned too that I wanted to kind of discuss is there's really like two sides to the coin, meaning like there's the privilege of like, like I would be in a different place. You would be in a, like Leif would not exist as far as the talent that you have, the person out there, the musician that you are, if your parents didn't make this one decision. You know what I mean? I also would not exist here in the context where I am without the one decision that my parents made. But then on the flip side of that, so that's the privilege, but then there's the pressure as well of like, you have to succeed because we did so much to get you here. And just the other day when I was prepping for some other episodes, I was just thinking about like, man, what a honor and privilege it is that my parents sacrificed so much that not only am I able to like think about how I'm feeling, how I want to do things creatively, because the reason why is because I came from a privileged place of my parents worked hard so I can have, meaning food on the table, safe area, you know, clothes on my back. I can't think about a podcast and starting things if I'm fearful about where my next meal is coming from. Do you know what I mean? Like it's an honor for us to be creatives almost because our parents sacrificed so much. But then there's a point where I agree with you where you're like, all right, pops, all right, mom's, like, I gotta do me now. Like I gotta, you know what I mean? Like I almost had to talk to my parents about like, I'm doing this because you worked that hard. I understand the sacrifice. It's not that I'm like throwing it away or anything like that. I really do understand it. So you guys did this, so I had a chance at being happy, and this is really what's going to, I don't want to say happy because I know that word, we overuse that word, but what's fulfilling, what's like those things. Because like I've seen you in your studio, I've seen you on stage, and that's really when you like, sometimes it's like, are you in a good way, meaning like, are you even there? Like, for example, right now we're doing this podcast. I always say this, nothing else matters to me right now. I'm not on my phone. I'm not thinking about what happened 10 minutes ago. I'm not thinking about what happens 10 minutes later. Like, I'm really in this, you know what I mean? And I really enjoy that. And I hope everybody, anyone who's listening to this, finds whatever that is. And I feel like for you, it's on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or creating the next hit. 4 a.m., you guys have been working all day and night, and you guys get this hit, or you guys figure out a way to make this song better. I've only been witness to it a couple times, but every time it's amazing. And on that topic, I kind of wanted to talk also about community. And in the past, when was your last show? At
December 29th. Yes.
So that was very exciting. Reason why is because I had the honor for the first time being part of like his media team. So I was there to help out, which I was so honored to be asked to do that. But the one thing I was telling Emily, who I met there, she's one of the photographers for you guys at Union Station, the sense of community, meaning like it was not one person's show. It was like, this mic didn't work. Everyone is helping, trying to find that. This person needs water. Okay, let's grab water for this person. And so it really was a community, and that's the first time I really saw like a backstage show. I felt so cool, by the way, Leif. I was like, oh my God, I'm like a roadie. It's so cool. And so I kind of wanted you to touch on that, and my feedback on that is you were one of the leaders of that community. So you're the leader of like certain people eat because of you. You know what I mean? And how an honor that is. And I know you take that. That's a big role and you take that very seriously. But I did see you in this leadership role, and it was an honor to see it. And hearing everyone's feedback of how you kind of lead with your heart, your integrity, and the passion for the music, I think is really going to yield you with like the most success. So I wanted you to kind of discuss like, what does that community mean to you as far as, and also the community off the stage as well. Like when you are on stage, if you just saw mine, Chelsea's, Catherine's view of just like everyone going crazy during your music, I'm like, people are here for you. Like all these different type of people came out for you guys, and it's really, really cool to see. So yeah, I wanted you to kind of discuss that community in music, in your family also. I know that kind of like weaves in, and the WRIZZARDS as well. Yeah,
so I think just coming from a Filipino background and generally an immigrant background, we are very community family based. So growing up, you know, whenever we would have a birthday party or a Christmas party, all of our, you know, family friends who we call cousins, you know, I think it's the same way.
We got a million cousins.
And they're not even blood. It's just people that my parents met who are Filipinos. And it's like, you know what, I want my kid to grow up in this community, have friends once he gets to this country. You know, we would all pitch in, like it's always potluck style for birthday parties. And then we are entertainers too. So we either have karaoke set up, or my parents will be like, hey, like, can a couple of you guys do performances? Or can you sing? Can you dance? Yeah. So it's just, we always put together everyone's talents and everyone's contributions into everything we do. Our Christmas parties are crazy. Each family has a performance. We all prepare that week. So it's kind of like just embedded in my being growing up to be that type of person as well for the WRIZZARDS, to be that type of person for everyone, my fans, my supporters. And I think too, I want to touch base on the fact that I work with a lot of artists every day.
Yeah.
And I've seen the industry and how this DC industry works. And I'm sure it's a microcosm of the bigger industry as well. But a lot of artists, what they're missing, a lot of them have talent. A lot of them have the ethic, but what they're missing is the community. And I feel like a lot of them, you know, could get their egos in the way where they're like, I want to do it myself. I don't like when I hear this from this person. Like, no, I disagree with that. I'm doing this for me, you know, which is great. I think I'm doing this for me too. But I always think of this quote, I forgot who said it, but I'm going to take care of me so I could take care of you. So that's kind of how I go about things. But at the end of the day, the community of the WRIZZARDS, the community that we've built throughout this year alone, has helped support like everything from, now I'm not taking as many sessions because I could just focus on this and,
Cool.
and it's starting to really like, I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all about stripping yourself away from the situation and how can we all grow together? That's our biggest thing. And, first when we started WRIZZARDS, it was all a joke. We were just jamming. And at first me and Maddie were tied to a sort of contract thing last year where we couldn't do anything else. So WRIZZARDS was at that time was our outlet to do something else other than lucid stuff. And eventually, we started saying like Riz, that term Riz, a Gen Z term that everybody be using. And then
it's in the dictionary now, by the way, so you guys know.
Yeah, charisma, if you guys didn't know. But it was just a joke. It more so like hyping ourselves up. It's like, oh, we got this. But, and then Tina made a, shout out Tina Carzan. She's made a, amazing artist. They made a fake account or just like a troll account or a parody account that we started just posting videos in, and eventually some got like really good views, and then eventually it became real. Funny how things happen. Like I remember Tina was like, hey, we should start a band. But at that time, me and Maddie were like kind of tied into the whole lucid thing at the time. And then we were like, oh yeah, we'll see. But then it's just crazy how it manifested itself. And then we got a write-up from the Washington Post because of the fact that we value community so much. Everyone in the WRIZZARDS, Tina is really good at making content, photo shoots. I'm, the mastermind behind the music and then the production and rehearsing everybody. Maddie's great at social media. Bema's one of the best songwriters and artists I've ever.
Girl, oh my God.
Oh, she's a showstopper.
I'm linking everyone, by the way, he's talking about. I'm tagging them below in the description, so go check them out. Go ahead.
Sir. But yeah, so everyone has something to offer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something where we asked each other to do these things. It was just like when we hung out, he was like, hey, you guys want a photo shoot? I need to practice, Or, hey, like, I have a studio set up there. You guys want to pull up and just take a couple pictures? And it turned out to be better pictures than what I paid, like, $300 for from this photographer. And then we would write songs. Bema would come in with the craziest concepts and then craziest melodies. And then Maddie is helping us with the business and being more business-oriented and making sure we post content and motivating us. So all these aspects that we could get from a label, we get from each other, and we all help each other out. So we're not only the artist, but we're also the team of everyone else. I'm the producer of Tina. Tina's my photographer / publicist. Bema is one of my co-writers. Maddie is my social media manager, and we all offer this to each other. So we kind of have a label within 4 people. And I think that's just a quality that comes from Filipinos. We're very multifaceted, but we also care so much about seeing other people win. And it gives us so much pride and joy to be able to like, hey, I helped this person get there. And it's just a very unique situation that I feel so lucky to have right now. I know a lot, and this is why I wanted to tie it in with other artists. They don't have this. And I've seen a lot of artists that's, you have the talent. It's just, like you're either too stubborn to like have people join in your community and have people help you out, or you just don't have the connections yet that you've made to be able to get there. And these people fell into my lap last year without even me asking it. And I'm religious, so I thank God for that. And I believe in fate and destiny. And
Amen,
it's really amazing. And I consider myself lucky. And what did I do to deserve this? That for now is like our careers, and we've seen major growth just by being with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I also agree with you that all credit goes to him. We're just the vehicles here. So, but I also want to say, I'm like, is it luck, or are you attracting the people that you are? You know what I mean? And maybe it's you're getting blessings because of certain actions that you did 5 years ago, whatever the case is, because you are very, very hardworking. But then you mentioned that you are also have your faith. So prayer also, we talk about that a lot on this podcast too, is like prayer and working. You can't just pray, you're going to be the #1 artist and then not do it. Wow. So much that I want to talk about, but we're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be back after these short messages. All right, guys, we are back. That was just a shameless plug. Like I mentioned, I'm also going to be tagging Leif, his band or his musical group, WRIZZARDS, and then all of the team members that he just mentioned before as well. Please go check them out. We'll do a major plug at the end of this episode, but again, please check them out. So there's a couple things that you kind of touched on that I kind of want to go into detail about. The one thing that I find so interesting that I was kind of correlating while you were talking about it is that remember so random. Remember the Karate Kid movie where like he was teaching him all these moves and he necessarily still didn't believe like I can't do that, but then he was like, no, the way you wash the car or whatever, that's how you're going to do this move. And then it kind of connected. When you were talking about how you move in your musical group, I was thinking about how you kind of already had those traits because of your upbringing in the way of, you mentioned growing up in your family gatherings, someone would be the musician, someone would be bringing the food, somebody would bring the dessert, like whatever the case is. And then, so then you could have this like amazing event experience. And now you're kind of doing that with your musical group where it's very familiar with you is what I'm saying. Which is amazing that you have that. Cause not everyone behaves that way, especially, I know you could talk about it where I have not experienced it, but I've heard in the music industry where it can be very me, or like you mentioned in past experiences, how, you know, certain people in the music industry wanted to go down one route and it just wasn't true to who you were. So they're just thinking about them and their vision and you want. So I commend you for like keeping up with what your family and God has told you to do, which is amazing because that's really, really tough to do when a whole lot of money, fame, all this is getting thrown in your way. So congrats to you on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, talking about the family values, how do you think, if you go a little bit more into detail, how do you think they've kind of guided your life or your decisions when it comes to your music or your personal life or whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I feel like also being religious and growing up Catholic, we were told to worship God so that we may be able to serve people and help like people. And I feel like my parents are this, you know, till this day, they will do whatever to serve people. They're very huge in the Christian community here. They feed the homeless. They, you know, are leaders also in our church group. A lot of these aspects that I get and traits that I get is really from them. Like this is actually super crazy. So Bema's parents and my parents, they met through a church community. And that's how I met Bema. They kind of forced both of us to play in this like praise band thing. Matt was also a part of it. And then
that's crazy.
So yeah, that's how I got introduced to Bema, and I was like, yo, amazing singer, amazing voice. And then we just started hanging out. But it's crazy because both our parents are teachers, right? So the reason they came to the U.S. was because they got recruited from a DC recruitment or DMV recruiting agency.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, we're looking for Filipino teachers because, you know, they value the way we teach and our values and how hardworking we are. So that's how we all came to this country. And it's crazy now that Bema's parents and my parents, they started a business recently about being a recruitment agencies for Filipino teachers back at home. So it kind of came full circle. But it's crazy because we, as WRIZZARDS, we would have our business meeting talking about our next show, how we get sponsors, like content to post this week, this and that. Yeah. And then in the next room over, it's Bema's parents and my parents talking about their business. And then we break to eat dinner all together. And then we break and, you know, say, hey, that room is open if you guys want to go. So it's just my house right now is very business oriented, but also just so much is happening. Yeah. And I think that kind of gave my parents a little insight on what we're doing. Cause that's, I think my dad's first like bigger business entrepreneurial dream that he's working on. And he sees me doing it every day. And now I'm seeing him. I think our parents are having a different perspective on what we're trying to do. And because now they're investing a lot of money, they're investing a lot of time, and you don't know when the returns will happen, you know? And because of that, there's a little more respect in what we do as well. Not that they never respected it, but you know how it is when you don't have any experience or you don't see it firsthand.
They'd see you. They're like, oh, I see you.
Yeah. And then I see them too. And I think we learn from each other that way. Like, my dad's like, hey, how do you build a website? And then I was like, oh, I'm so excited.
That's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. Wow, that's really, really cool. And what I'm hearing is that it takes a village, no matter what, a dream, a child, whatever the case is. And it's awesome that you've particularly put yourself in an environment where everyone's like-minded in that way, where we all have this goal. How do we get there? And egos are checked at the door type of thing, which is amazing. That's so cool that now your parents are in it. I could imagine it, like, if I could have it my way, I would want like my brother to be behind one of these cameras, my sister to do audio, my mom to be the, like, you know, I like, it's that childhood dream or fantasy where, maybe you have had this or not, but like, growing up and you're living next to your siblings and your kids are going to be cousins and close. Cause we had that growing up, you know what I mean? Like my first best friends were my cousins, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's amazing that you have that. It sounds like a very fun house, very fun, loud house. And I know the food's amazing every single time. That's awesome. Okay. So, I also want to touch on, you've embarked obviously in your passions, which is music. Is there any particular part of music that this is like, is it the singing, is it the producing? Like, is there one that kind of trumps the others, or no, all of it?
I would say, so I am an artist. I think we all as RIZZARDS are artists as well. I think everyone who does something creative, including yourself, is an artist first before any other endeavors they attach on. Because it takes some type of creativity to even think of the idea of creating a podcast or creating a music group and everything. Yeah. And then it takes a lot of courage too to be able to do that. So I commend every artist out there, every creator. It takes a lot of courage, and you have to, you know, like, realize there's gonna be people who are not gonna believe or who are kind of like doubting.
It's a very humbling experience.
It is. Yeah, definitely. But so I consider myself an artist before I am a business person, before I am a producer.
Got it.
But I think right now, and this is something I discovered through just working with many artists, and especially working with the RIZZARDS, but artist development is one of my strongest, I'd say, skills right now. Okay. And it's nothing that I want. I never thought I'd be like a business person, because I'm not really like super type A. I'm disorganized, but when I love something and I have the passion for it, I'm able to be a little bit more organized with it. But it's something, for example, when I work in the studio with artists, I have such a great ear because I consume a lot of music, that I'm able to be confident in telling them, hey, like, let's try it this way. Hey, make the vowel a little brighter. It's a little too dark. It's, you know, I'm able to also give solutions. I think that's one thing, is leading in that way. And then seeing all the artists that I've developed musically, and even just being an example for them, and be like, hey, you could post content more. You could do this more. And then, hey, you should rehearse. You should try these shows. I'm able to always, you know, give solutions or help them find solutions in their careers and everything. And for me, I know the artist's lifestyle. I remember in school, they said the artist career, the average is about 2 to 3 years, which isn't a lot. And there's millions of people in the world. Wow. So it's, you know, I mean, I would love to be, you know, a top 40 artist and touring and everything, and, you know, and I'll keep working hard at that. But also, what after? What can I do after? Am I just an artist, or can I be a business person too? Can I write behind the scenes? Can I develop my own artists? Can I, you know, hopefully, God willing, grow this RIZZARDS industry label and be able to source artists? I'm like, yo, I like this person. He comes from Springfield too. He lives the same life that I lived. I would love to help this person out, grow their artistry, and tell them that, yo, I believe in you and everything. And something that I don't think we had, I would love to give that to a lot of artists in the industry, for sure. That's
very, very smart of you, because a lot of people, like, if you hear like in the athletic world, like, once they have their prime time, it's like, not everyone is the Shaquille O'Neal that has smart investments or whatever, and now is doing something different. So it's smart that you are thinking beyond the dream, because you're going to get there. It's just a matter of time. You're going to get there. It really is just a matter of time. So obviously thinking after that, because obviously it'd be great if you are the next #1 artist for 30 years. Great. But you have to have kind of like a backup plan. Yeah. Now, you kind of mentioned, because I mentioned before, even off camera, that I'm finding that a lot of our target audience and people who are interacting with this content are artists, are first gens who dare to dream, I always like to say. There's a reality that comes with, like, chasing your passion. Like there's this one comedian, I always forget this person's name. They're on the Jimmy Fallon late night show. And his opening line is, he goes like, chasing your dreams, don't recommend it. He's like, it's a very lonely, like, you know, I'm hungry, I'm cold, all these things. And then obviously now he's on the show, which is awesome. But because you mentioned a couple things where you're an artist first, but there's all these other things that might be annoying, might be things that you're not passionate about. Like, for example, for me, like setting things up or lighting or whatever, it's not my most favorite thing to do, but I have to do it as of right now to get the content out, what I really care about. So is there any advice that you give to up-and-coming artists or just first gens who want to take that step into that creative world, about like, you have to do certain things to a certain extent. You have to do certain things to be able to do what you really want, essentially. And someone might be looking at you and be like, man, must be, you know, nice that you're talented and you have your own company and label. But I'm thinking about that one like cousin who's, you know, 14 years old and wants to be the next whatever. Kind of giving them kind of some upliftment or what you would share, even to your younger self.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say find the right balance of being humble, but also being confident in yourself. And I think there were times in my life where I was too overconfident, but then I didn't realize how much work actually gets to. And I was always thinking like, oh, I'm talented. Why am I not getting streams? Or I'm talented. Why am I not getting work? And a lot of artists go through that, and a lot of people who start out too, who have this dream, they think it's just the talent, and it's sad, but it's true. That's probably 10 to 20% of being a successful, you know, artist or a successful producer. A lot of it is the behind the scenes, the setting up, like, as you said, the content, the hours of me learning this video editing thing just to be able to have a better quality content. But also on the other side of it, you have to be confident in yourself. You have to believe in yourself and just love for yourself in a way that's like, hey, I can do anything. And that's a very hard mentality to get into. Like, it took me, I think, 3 years until I completely was like, I believed in my music. And me and Matt had this conversation on the way home from this birthday party / networking thing we went to last night. And I told Matt, I was like, yo, I think for the first time, one of the first times in my life, I actually, as an artist, love listening to my old stuff that I was recording and just testing out. And I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. And it took me a long time to get there, because every time I record something, I'm always comparing myself to other people. I have all these artists I work with who all they do is be an artist. And since I'm so multifaceted and I get in a lot of things, I always feel like I don't spend enough time being an artist. So I don't think I even belong to become an artist and everything. And with everything great that's been happening, like our close to sold out show at Union Stage and the energy that we brought there.
Yeah. That was amazing.
Really, really fun. And we didn't expect all that. Like, we only expected half of those people to be there, but so many people came to support. Everyone sang our lyrics. That was the best part. But that's one of those things where I'm like, yo, like, I actually love my music now. I actually, not that I hated my music, but it's always a love-hate thing where you, like, when you create something, it's like, oh, I love it in this moment. Then 2 weeks later, I'm like, this is trash.
Yeah, because we're here listening for the first time, and then you've listened, like, this is old. Yeah, by the time it comes out, you're like, I've been, you know, I've heard artists say that too before. Let me ask you this. How long do you think it took you, or like whether it was an age you can tell me, where you finally were playing, you were being Leif?
Okay.
Because I know a lot of times as artists, like, you morph these two musicians together or these comedians together because you are 18 and you're still trying to figure yourself out. So until then, you're trying to figure out your sound. But when did you be like, I'm being Leif, this is Leif, which is really exciting.
Shit, I would say since I met the WRIZZARDS, I felt like they really brought that out of me.
Yeah.
But with every artist out there who's gone through what I'm going through, I said this in a recent interview once, where we're all delusional when we start out. I think in general, everyone's delusional. And I don't think delusion is a bad thing. It's because delusion gives you sometimes this false sense of confidence where you go and try different things. You go and actually do stuff.
Yep.
And I got this tattoo. Let me see. says do, just do. Shout out Jacob for doing it. But it reminds me every day to do good things, do just, and then just do, meaning don't think about it, just do it. So I always look at it and I'm like, I was
always curious about that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's dope. Sorry,
shout out my boy Jacob. But yeah, so there's this sense of delusion when you first start out, and it's really keeping that delusion, but also be a realist enough to know that you have to work hard, and eventually your skills will match up with your delusion, where it's like your dream and your hard work is now starting to bear fruit, and you're starting to actually see results. And it's the same thing with any industry. I've seen a lot of YouTube creators, and I would watch their videos from 5 years ago and see like, oh, they didn't have the charisma yet. Oh, the lighting wasn't that good. This and that. You know, so it's always a growth thing, and people think it just happens just because you have the talent or you believe in yourself so much. But it really does take a lot of hard work. This is why I mentioned earlier, you have to have a perfect balance of believing yourself, that delusion, but also humble enough to be able to accept how much work and how slow it's going to take sometimes. You know, it doesn't happen in a snap of a finger for everybody.
Right. And I always argue, like, do you really want to tap in and snap? Because that means you're not prepared for it, where I'd rather want a slow rise, one, the commitment of my audience, but also me as a person growing and learning. Because right now I'm still figuring it out. Oh my God, starting this creative like journey, it's a shot of my ego every single time. Every single time. And that's how it's supposed to be. I'm a better person because of it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah. Wow, I wish I could talk to you for like hours. Like, do you just want to be a co-host at this point? It's just like, well, you're busy. You're busy. You're busy. The one thing I also wanted to touch on too is that I talked about in an episode before where delusion is delusional until it's genius. Do you know what I mean? Like until it works out. And one of my other guests mentioned like, once a group of people, whether it's 1 million, whether you have 10 million followers or 1 million streams, whatever, once you get that, then you really get the fans too, or people watching, because someone needs to see that you're validating that way, or that you fuck with Leif. Okay, now I fuck with Leif. You know what I mean? Which is like, but it's like whatever. You know what I mean? And so some people need to be like reminded of that. But as minorities and first gens, we can't wait for that. Like, the fact that my parents thought that they could come to this country with minimum money and figure ish out, and 14 people in an apartment until they figure it out, and then they broke up and have their own families and stuff, working 3 great shift like yard jobs, it's crazy to think that I'm bringing my kids here and they all will be graduates of college and they all will be great citizens, not like you know what I mean? It's not crazy in the sense of like, it's obviously possible, but coming from where they came from and they felt like that is insane. Where they, you know, some of my family members, they're like, some of my aunts and uncles, I never got to meet them because they literally didn't make it past year 14. You know what I mean? Because of the lack of resources or whatever the case is back in my country at that time. Right. So I'm taking the same approach that my parents had, where, girl, be delusional. I'm a brown girl in America. That's all I have. Especially being a minority, we have to be kind of crazy when it comes to like our dreams and our goals. Because why the F not? Why the F not? Especially as a creative, like.
And I wanted to touch on when you said earlier about like, oh, was it just luck, or were you prepared for all the great things that are happening as of right now? And one of my professors in college said that luck only happens, opportunities only pop up in your life once you're prepared to take them. So people are always like, oh, I'm unlucky, or, you know, why are you getting that? Why didn't I get that? Maybe because God didn't think you deserve it yet. And maybe God says, hey, you have to work a little harder, and you have to go through more trials to really be strong enough to even accept this gift I'm about to give you. And I think in general in life, it's really that, like, sometimes we can't accept certain gifts because we're not ready for it. Maybe our mental isn't ready for paparazzi, and, you know, we're not ready
for all of it.
Yeah, for anything. So it really does take trials for you to be like, okay, now I'm ready to be able to address these people. Now I'm ready to be able to have business conversations and negotiate with this person. Because like, if you asked me 2 years ago, I felt like I was ready. I'm like, I'm ready. And then I watch videos back. I'm like, nah, you're still delusional.
Sir, you were yeah. That's amazing. I'm literally like, do you want to be a co-host at this point? Because we're just vibing. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after these short messages. All right, guys, we are back. Now, what we talked about before the break was how you were talking about that luck versus kind of like that hard work, and how in order to, I really love where this episode's going, but in order to receive what God has in store for you, you have to work towards it, right? And what I want to touch on that is I read a book. It's called Bamboozled by Jesus. Really, really recommend it. It's right there. You can take it home with you once we're done. And essentially, it's about a comedian who talks about, literally the book is called Bamboozled by Jesus, how God tricked me into the life of my dreams, essentially. And there's a portion in the book where she talks about how she says, like, okay, she doesn't know much about football, but what she does know is the quarterback, when they throw the football, they're not throwing it at the wide receiver. They're throwing it where the wide receiver needs to be, right? Which is usually a couple feet or wherever ahead. And so if you're not putting in the hard work, then God's not going to grant you your wishes. And I also would take it a step further and say, like, I take it a step further as far as, like, I am so passionate about this dream that I don't want anything to get in the way, whether it's my ego, whether it's myself, because sometimes as creatives, we get in our own way, whether it's like our self-doubt or whatever the case is. I take it as, if I'm not disciplined to make my bed in the morning, every single morning, which I'm not a fan of doing.
I need to do that.
You're like, noted. Then why does God think that I'm disciplined enough for this dream that I really, really want? Or I got this from another podcast. I listen to like a lot of Christian podcasts. I'll send you all of them once we're done here.
Yes, please.
He says, or in a podcast they shared, like, when you're going, when you're on the street, right? And you see a piece of trash, your ego will say, like, I'm not picking that up. Like, it's also not my trash, so why am I going to pick it up? But what if God's like, girl, if you can't take care of my soil, if you can't take care of my home, how can I grant you what you actually desire? Especially because that's ego. And one of my worship leaders said, think of ego, E-G-O, edging God out. You can't have ego, and you can't serve two masters, is what he's saying. And what I think, reason why I find so much passion in this is because this is kind of like the first time I've actually talked about it. In my line of work that I'm doing, and this podcast as well, and I'm sure you can relate, it is every single day, it is a shot of my ego. And I think that's a good thing, right? Because if his hand is not on it, I do not want it, right? Because essentially I want it to be fulfilling life. I think this is one way, like, your music serves people, right? Whether some people want to believe it or not, it does. Anyone who's listening, any music listeners out there too, like, music just moves people, right? It's certain people's best friends when other people are not there. It's to help you get out of dark times, addiction, depression, all these things. Right?
I actually like to, sorry to cut you off, but I like to, me and Maddie, this was a joke that we said, but it's like, we're kind of in the pharmaceutical business, because really music is like a pill. There's people who literally have a long day at work and just like, I'm gonna just escape for a second. I'm gonna listen to this song, and it does change your brain waves. And I'm not like a neuroscientist or anything, but I know it definitely does something chemically. I'm sure
it's clinically studied.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that.
Should I address you as Dr. Leif now? Like, at this point, it's like, I think that's appropriate. Like, I really do think that's appropriate.
I skipped med school. Let's go.
Right. It's such a cheaper option, guys. Just go straight into music. You're good. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, if I've had the best times I've had of my friends or meeting new friends have been at where music or comedy has been. And comedy in the same way is that it either lets you feel like you're not alone because someone's talking about a tough time or whatever, and you can laugh at it together. Or it takes you out of it, meaning something completely different. You could just laugh at this thing or whatever. Same with music, where you can listen to certain stuff if you really want to feel those emotions, or you could put something upbeat on if you want to just like tune out for just a second. Absolutely. Yeah. So like, this is going to sound like what, but you're really doing God's work with your music.
Thank you.
And I know that means a lot to you. And again, I'm so excited to see what God has in store for you. I don't think we can share now, which we could just tease them and they can figure it out later. You just have big things coming up this year, which is really, really exciting. I feel like every time I talk to you, I was like, hey, what's up? And I'm always like, traveling, podcasting. You're like, yeah, we just booked this other show. It's this day if you want to. I'm like, great. I cannot keep up. It's just happening so quickly. I don't think we covered this. How long have you been doing sound engineering? Like, when you were doing it for a full-time business?
I'd say it was in college when I was looking for an internship to be able to graduate.
Okay.
And I was recording at the studio. That it's crazy, like how this is why I believe in fate and destiny. But Tina and Tina's brother Jansen, who also performed at Union Stage,
He's awesome too. Yeah.
Great artist. They introduced me to the Sweet Spot Studios where I had my first job, and at that time I was already kind of like familiar with recording. I did it myself. I was a very self-taught person, but also I studied music industry as well. They introduced me to that studio to record stuff as an artist, and then I asked just like, hey, like, do you guys have any internship like opportunities? And at that time, Nico was like, nah, bro, you're great. I want you to work. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. So I would travel back and forth to run these sessions. I would, go into weekends to run sessions at their smallest studio. He was really like helping me grow and everything. So I would say professionally since maybe like 2017 when I really started taking it as work. And then post-college during COVID, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to do it myself. And at that time it was delusion. I want to bring back that thread, but it was delusion. I really wasn't ready, but because I had this, I guess at the time, false sense of confidence to do it, I ended up doing it, and it ended up working out for me, even through all the fails. And this is what I think the power of delusion does, is that when you fail or when you fall or when something goes wrong, you're not as bothered by it. You just think it's part of the process. At least that's how it is to me. I don't think I'm ever the type of person that gets discouraged with defeat. If anything, bring defeat on, bring the fails on. Like I love, because I learned the most from those times.
So much information.
Yeah. So at that time I was doing a lot of free work. At that time, even like with Nico, I was like bad at, I realized I had like horrible skills at communication, and I was also juggling a lot, and I had a horrible a horrible habit of taking on too much. And at that time I was taking on school. I was doing productions in school, and then I was also driving 2 hours to do the session. And what actually, like, I'm more than willing to be open about this, but I messed up my relationship with that studio because at that time I was doing too much and I couldn't handle it all. And then didn't realize that, working with clients, you have to be a business person. You have to be, and you might not be the most type A person, but you have to force yourself to be that person. You have to be on time. In that
environment, yeah.
And that's one of the biggest lessons I take to this day. And it still is a lasting scar that I have, severing that relationship. And actually, we had some closure. He pulled up to the Songbird show. Aww. Shout out Nico. And, I texted him, and I haven't talked to him for like 2 years, and tell him like, hey, you really helped me grow as an artist, as most especially as an entrepreneur and a businessman. What happened with us, like, I will never forget, and then I will never do it to anybody else again. So it's things like that when you're young and then you think you could do it all. There's things that humble you. Is like, hey, like, you need to work on this trait about yourself so that you can be better, so that you can, because like, again, like, it's not just music. It's not just fun. Music is the easy part. The hard part is your interpersonal skills with people, how you direct sessions, your timeliness, your schedule, making sure that you're doing good business and you're doing good for your clients.
Yeah. Wow. I do have to say, part of what I'm hearing too is that you're human. Like you made a mistake, but how lucky you are to almost make that mistake, because you have that information. And like, when I really mess up, I apologize. I say I fucked up, and I make sure it never happens again. Cause I'm tough on myself in that way as well. Cause if I'm honest, I'm so anal about certain stuff, and I'm so on that when I make a mistake, it's very few and far between. So when it happens, I'm like, Mila, and especially because the intention is not there or anything, but you still either impacted someone's life or anything like that. So you're literally just human at that point. The last thing I want to point on that you mentioned, that, and then we'll move on to talking about the WRIZZARDS, which I'm really excited about.
Let's go.
Is you mentioned how the talent is literally like 10% of it. And one of my mentors told me, like, your manners, your being on time, all that will take you where your talent will not take you. Right? And so it is the showing up on time. It is addressing every person in the room, shaking everybody's hand, treating the CEO the same way you treat the janitor. All of those things really do matter. It's those interpersonal skills, right? Because you meet so many people in these, like, I've seen you meeting all these creative people. People just swarm you when they want to talk to you and stuff like that in the creative space as you're growing your community. What's, that's such a privilege and stuff, and they just want to connect with you and stuff. But people remember how you made them feel, right?
Yeah,
they actually don't remember what you were wearing or anything like that, or maybe even what you said, but they actually remember how you feel when they're in your presence, and what you want that to be a beautiful experience, right? So, of course, we're all human, and we're not always, we're not able to be on at all the time. Like, I want us to take care of ourselves as creatives as well. But I completely agree with you that it's 10% of it is a talent. Like, it's great that you're talented, but if you're an asshole on set, if you're not showing up on time, if you're not consistent on, like, if you're going to say, do something, do it. That's going to impact your journey. And the music industry, even in like the medical industry, like whatever industry, it's just about interacting with people, that I completely agree with. And that circles back to your family values and your community and growing up. Is there anything you want to touch on before we move on to the WRIZZARDS conversation?
Yeah, so not everyone can be a Kanye or a Kurt Cobain, where they're known for how polarizing they are, and how that's kind of like their brand, and then some people might take it, always using them as a scapegoat, be like, oh, Kanye's a dick, so I could be a dick too, this and that. But it really isn't. And I know too, Kanye's probably just like that. I don't know him personally, but a lot of it is part of the branding aspect of it. But I'm sure he's a great businessman. He wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't. Kurt Cobain was the same as well. I'm sure they had all these skills as well. Yeah. But like, I also wanted to touch on the fact that I really don't like attention. It's crazy. People think like, oh, you're an artist, you like attention. I don't like when people ask me questions. I don't like social settings. I get anxious. I have pretty bad like social anxieties. But I think because it's part of growing as an artist, and it's that interpersonal skills is so important, I can't just ignore that. So I've developed ways to like, sometimes I practice in the car. I'm like, all right, keep your head up. Cool posture. Like, I think about these things that people don't notice. Maybe I've just been so used to it now. I like to tell the WRIZZARDS, like, I'm a good actor. So like, I really sometimes don't feel genuine in the things I do, but I think I've done it so much and I've had so many reps that I'm able to, make people feel good in a conversational manner and stuff like that. But really, if you ask me like what I'm actually feeling in certain moments, like, I don't like attention when I didn't earn it. So like on stage, I earn it because I work really hard and people are, screaming and everything like that.
Sounds like on stage, your presence is insane.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But that's like, shocking to hear.
Yeah, it's things like that where it's like, okay, I earned that, so I feel good because I worked for it. And maybe this is just something I grew up on, but whenever people come up to me and like, hey, you're so good, like even after the show, I'm like nervous. I'm like, wow, this is a lot. But again, it's all about interpersonal skills too, and you can't make them feel bad for giving you a gift, their gift of their love, And then I always, if I like any compliment or anything that people say to you is a gift, whether it's a bad gift or a good gift, it's just up to you if you accept it, or if you don't, it's just gonna get thrown right back at them. So if someone says something bad to you, that's a bad gift. You don't have to accept it, but you don't. Part of not accepting it is not letting it get under your skin, and it'll just come back to them. But same thing with love. Like, people give you love. If you don't accept it, it comes back to them. But if you do, like, they really appreciate that and everything. So that's always what I think. And I actually want to shout out our boy Gio, who you also part of the media team. He's a host of the WRIZZARDS.
You're like the co-host of the media team there. Yeah, he's awesome. Go ahead. Yeah.
He is the person. This is why he's such an asset also to the WRIZZARDS. Is his interpersonal skills is top notch. Like, before we were driving to sound check or loading 4 hours before the show starts, he's in the car. He's like, all right, this guy. Hey, y'all, can you guys remember these names? This guy's the sound engineer. This is the front of house person. This is the bartender. And when we come in, just shake their hand and be like, hey, what's up, Joe? It's nice to meet you. I heard a lot about you. I cannot wait to do a great show. And I was like, I would never think of that. And we all did it when we got there, and that made him feel so good. And even if I don't know much about you, in that moment, it means a lot. And it's things like that it's like, I might not authentically come up with it, because I know me, I hate like just approaching people sometimes.
Yeah, it gives you, it's not that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but then it's like these reps. At the end of the day, your behaviors are something that you just like you might not be this person, but then you've and develop these behaviors through just practicing it. And then eventually you become that person too.
Right.
So Gio, shout out Gio. He's always the guy who's like, hey, make sure you do this. Make sure you do that.
What a great quality to have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. But
that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Lastly, before we move on to the WRIZZARDS really quickly, you've been in the creative space forever. I'm very, very a toddler, a baby in the podcast world and the creative world. Or I finally stepped into it. I've always been looking over the fence. Any particular advice, now you know me personally, any advice that you'd give to me, whether it's the podcast, whether it's myself, watch out for this, anything at all that you would want to tell me?
Yes. And I can speak from experience, but always do it. And this might be the most general thing ever, but because you love it first. And you have the passion for it, and let your passion drive you. And I can see that. I've seen your episodes. I see how hard you work. And I see the setup, how beautiful this space is that you have me. I have the pleasure to be in, and to have this comfortable conversation. You help set that up. And that shows your passion. You think about the little details. You know, that the lighting in the back. Not a lot of people would think about these little things, but you do. And that just shows your passion. So keep that up. And this is also going out to any artist as well, and any creatives. It has to be coming from the heart. And I see that when you do your work, and I see that in how you promote this podcast. It's coming from your heart first before, oh, what clout am I going to get from this? Oh, what's the cool guest I'm going to get, and that will boost my brand. At the end of the day, it comes from your heart. And that's something I always tell myself too. Yeah. Now that great things are starting to happen, and we'll get to it once we talk about the WRIZZARDS and all the crazy things that are happening this year. But it's always, I always think okay, who am I doing this for? Am I doing this for me? And if I'm doing this for me, is it out of ego, or is it for God and praising him and all the gifts he's given me? But because it's not bad to do things for you. It's, at the end of the day, I always think, take care of yourself so you can take care of other people. Right. But it's always, for me, it's always about, is this coming out of passion, or is this coming out of, oh, I'm addicted to winning? Because I love winning too. Me and Matt, I share that, and that's why we work so hard, and that's why we don't get sleep sometimes, and that's why Matt's on live for 4 or 5 hours a night. We're obsessive, and we like to win.
It's that athlete mentality.
Yeah, and sometimes that could be toxic, because then is it really coming out of passion, or is it coming because you like to win and you like that recognition, or you like what comes with winning, And every morning I always remind myself, it's why am I doing this today? And who am I doing this for? So I always think these things before I meet with a new client. Even this podcast, I'm like, okay, this is great to have this setup, and have you work so hard to making me look good in the camera and everything. So it's who am I doing this for? What is the purpose of this? And the biggest thing for me is, honestly, I'm valuing more from just this conversation, and forget the podcast, the cameras, the lights, but I really am learning a lot from you as well, and being able to have you talk about my experiences and having people be able to hear that, that to me is already so valuable. And I always think about what value am I getting from every experience, but it's not just a value in a way that's monetarily, but the relationships. I love building relationships, and I feel from the time I've known you and everything, it really shows in how much passion you have, because right now I don't see these lights, I don't see these cameras, I just feel like we're just talking. Right. And you set that space for me. So thank you for that.
Leif, if you make me cry on this episode, I've gone so long without crying on the internet, I'm not going to have you do it. Thank you so much. That is all very, very sweet. I want to end on that note. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and then we'll be back to talk about the WRIZZARDS.
Welcome back.
All right. See, I'm telling you, he's the co-host now. Sorry, guys. We had to reshoot the cameras. So we are back. So now we got deep. He almost made me cry, but I didn't do it. So let's talk about the WRIZZARDS. Mm-hmm. So where do you want to start with that? I know you have a couple of announcements or things you want to share. And again, everything he discusses, guys, will be in the description as well. So you guys could just click the link and then go to their profiles. I'm a huge fan and supporter of this group. So where do you want to take it as far as the WRIZZARDS?
Yes, sir. First and foremost, shout out to the WRIZZARDS, Bema Tati, Tina Carzon, Jay, Maddie, and anyone who's ever helped us in our dreams and our endeavors, whether it be the shows, whether it be, collabs. Shout out GOB, shout out Jay Vello, Giovanni Cardenas, our opening artist. Like, shout out to everyone who's been a part of it. And one thing the biggest thing about us is that we are a community before we are artists. We are a community of best friends. We're a community of creatives. We're a community of just people who have passion for music. And you could tell why this works is because it all comes from the heart, like we were talking about earlier. Everyone is willing to spend. Sometimes our meetings go out till 4 a.m. We're driving Tina home at like 4 a.m. to go to Maryland and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no one would drive 18 to 20 miles to drop a friend off, unless they had that passion to have that.
You're absolutely right, yeah.
So we're all very passionate about music. But without further ado, we're also a music collective and a label that elevates each other, which I think is super unique. And I think that's one of the selling points to the group. That's what we got written up in the Washington Post. No one's ever heard of that. No one's ever heard of a group of best friends who are also business oriented, but also talented and multifaceted, that will just offer their skills for free to each other.
Yeah.
And what we can do for each other, sometimes it takes 20-person crew to do it for one artist. And I think that's because we don't think about, I'm going to gain more I'm going to win because of this. I'm going to take advantage of these people. No, it's like if you win, I'll win. So I want to see all of us win. Yes. So that's our mission statement with the WRIZZARDS. And I wanted to touch on our opening act, Giovanni Cardenas. Shout out Giovanni Cardenas. I've been working with this man since college, and he's one of my first, I would say, guinea pigs. As I used to do free sessions with him just so I can get better, and to see his growth and to see how high he's soaring in his music was great. And when he reached out to open for us, I'm like, perfect artist to do it. And because it's his first time performing with a live band, it's his first time getting into the nitty gritty. I don't want to get too technical, but we run in-ears and then we run tracks and click, which means I can really turn up your experience. Instead of just playing with the band, it's it's all programmed. It's all how it sounds is just crisp. So he gave me the honor to be able to work with him as an artist in that aspect, rehearse with him, also, as a artist developer, how can I help him with his stage presence? Walk in at this time. Don't walk in yet. Let him wait. Play the intro, and then, cool, this is your cue. Come in. Cool. After this song, you're going to transition directly into this song. And then you're going to say your thank yous here while the band's playing in the back. Things like that, that not a lot of artists think of at the early stages, but we've had experience through Songbird and everything. And we're only getting better with the programming of the sets as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's pretty much what the WRIZZARDS is we offer opportunities of growth for each other, but also we help each other in every way possible. Tina is more of a photographer, but then they also edited my music video, and I don't want to get too crazy deep into this because our old videographer just was dropping the ball. And then Tina was like, is there any way you can get the raws? And then they took the time to edit it and stuff like that. So it's we also try to pick up skills and learn different skills so that we could offer more value to each other.
Yeah,
and that's
almost
that's
on the job
thing.
Training as well. Yeah. Which is why it's amazing that you say that too, because you could quite literally you'll be the first to change the industry as far as, how it went from just signing to a label, and then independent artists start to be a trend almost, the ones who've made it and stuff. And now you're talking about a group coming together and saying hey, cut out the middleman. This is how we're going to, especially the social media helps with that as well. So you could be starting a new trend of this is a way to do it, which is so nice because we talked about it before where artistry, doing your own passions in the creative space can be a very lonely journey. I've talked about that before. You have to motivate yourself. But so if you have 3 other people who look like you and have the same passion as you, I mean, it's inevitable, but you really crack the code. I feel that one, it's more fun. You can look at someone and get motivation from this person, and you can also be all right, maybe I'm tired and I don't want to do this for myself, but there's 3 other people who have to eat. I have to work for this.
Yeah.
And how helpful that can be as well. And also beautiful. Because if you guys have ever had the privilege of going to a show or seeing all 4 of these people that we're talking about, the WRIZZARDS, it's an amazing thing. I actually am going to text you. I forgot to text you this before, but I got a behind the scenes video of you coming off stage and all 4 of them embracing you. It's just like on my iPhone. But that was like maybe I'll put it in post. Hopefully I could possibly put it in this video. Maybe not. We'll see. And it was really beautiful to see like that community. And I almost thought like, man, I'm working on it as I'm getting this podcast bigger and bigger. But like, wow, what it would be so much fun to have 3 other people to help me, or 2 other people, or even 1 other person to help me with like the setup, the concept of the ideas, the traveling. Maybe we do a vlog or whatever, and just having like, like one of those like YouTube groups that like film like 6 guys together and they have their own podcast or their own YouTube, like that. And then you guys also like break bread together. Like it's not just a one thing. It's like you guys know about your personal lives, your family lives, your parents know all the things. It's not like a mutually exclusive thing, which is kind of beautiful. Like, yeah, I'm so blessed. I'm so happy to hear that you have that in your life. I think that's going to be something that's going to push you even forward. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what I did to deserve them, but that's all I think about is me and Matt. I was like, how lucky are we? How lucky are we to have this? I work with artists all the time. I'm helping this band right now, and I don't want to get into the names because the people who know will know who I'm talking about, but their biggest problem is just not having that support system. It's just one guy, the front man, who's doing all the marketing, who's spending all the money, he's doing all the financing, he's fine, and luckily he stumbled upon me through a jam session, and I'm all about making content. I'm all about like the things that actually get the ball rolling, not just the artistry, not just the music, but the behind the scene stuff, the marketing, like, hey, like maybe wear this, or hey, like you should pitch to this TV station, you should pitch to these media outlets to help gain some exposure and stuff like that. And then the thing he always tells me is like, good luck telling the other band members that. And it's like, it's so heartbreaking to hear that when he works so hard and he's gotten their band up. But I think, they are a little older, so maybe I'm still young and my delusion is still like there, where I'm still like having that false sense of confidence to do everything. And I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope that I don't lose that passion and I don't lose that delusion in a way. But, there's a lot of artists that don't have that. And I'm just so lucky to have these people just stumble upon me randomly. And, Tina, we grew up together. Our parents also are teachers, and we kind of grew up in the same community. But then through college, we kind of, had our own lives and everything. And then same thing with Bema. Like, our parents knew each other. So that's how I knew Bema. And then Maddie, I knew through my roommate, Jay Velo, shout out. And, I DJ'd his wedding at the time and stuff. So it's crazy how, like, our paths cross. And then
it's amazing.
And then once we're all ready and in that same mindset where we all have the same needs and wants and the same dreams, and then we're missing certain things that we all find with each other, and then we're just like this puzzle piece, 4-piece puzzle that fits so perfectly. Yeah. And a lot of my clients, a lot of the artists I work with tell me, it's like, dude, you guys have something special, and you guys are going to win because of that. Not because you're talented, not because, yes, because you're talented, yes, because you're hardworking, but because of that community you guys created and that mutual, unconditional support and love for each other to grow. Because, not all of us are winning we're all winning together, but, like Manny works really hard in social media. He has the biggest following. Right. And it's like, but we're not going to be like, damn, I want to get there and compete, and stuff like that. It's not about that. Him getting that following was partly a reason because of me, because of Bema, because of Tina.
Absolutely. So, and he knows that too, which is amazing, and reflection of his character too. That, it takes a village, and it's just so nice that you guys are able to check your ego at the door, because it has to be, if it's not all of you, it will not work. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you guys are very much aware of that. When I went for sound check and I was getting some behind the scenes, you guys were asking each other about, like, what do you think of this opinion or this opinion? And all opinions were listened out and valued. And that's not how it is in a lot of places, not even just the music industry, but like different teams I've seen work, whether it's in the company I work for or in the medical industry or in the Wall Street, like any other industry too, that's not always the case because we're human, we're flawed. So we are always fighting our ego. And it's nice that even you as their leader take like, oh, that's a good point. Let me, you know what I mean? It's just, you treat everyone with respect. You treat everyone with kindness. You listen to everyone, everyone's opinion. I'm saying that you take it, but you're like, okay, yeah, I hear you out. So it really is an honor to always see it and witness it. I can't wait for your next show and everything like that. Speaking of that, what else is coming out? What is the next thing that you want to plug? I know it's not just one thing, probably it's a bunch, but I'll let you take the stage on that.
Yeah, it's crazy how the Union Stage show was first a big surprise and how big it ended up becoming and what happened after. Yeah. What happened after we got invited to this other Filipino showcase, shout out Dreamer Show, where, you know, there's some people in the industry who are Filipinos who found us through social media and really love our grind and love our community. And, you know, they invited us to do a show, and then now one of the guys owns a modeling agency where they do photo shoots. It's like, hey, let me give you guys a free photo shoot. I really think I can, you know, turn up like the branding and how you guys look and everything. And we'll have a makeup artist for y'all. Like, we'll do individual shots, but we'll also do group shots. We'll plan it and everything. Yeah. So we have that coming up, which is really cool. But as a result of that as well, we, you know, like Tina pitched to a bunch of outlets, and then we got invited to TV for the first time as WRIZZARDS. Me and Matt were able to be featured in this last year, but this time it's on our own terms. Yeah. And it's, you know, and I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of what happened last year, but pretty much we got put into quote unquote a contract where we couldn't do anything else. Right. And we got many opportunities, like being on the radio, being on TV, but it was on their terms. Mm-hmm. So this time we got to pitch it ourselves, which I think was like a amazing thing. A small artist pitching to a platform and getting accepted. That to me is already like a win. And then so we're gonna be on TV for the first time, performing our song Miss Barista. Y'all can stream it out. It's out on all streaming platforms. Amazing song, God. Thank you. Yeah. What else? Oh, we have an intimate show. We haven't announced this yet, but I think this episode probably won't even come out. I mean, whatever, I'll announce it. But we are planning this intimate show in DC where it's like a very classy, more intimate setup, more stripped down arrangements of the songs, more about the vocals and more about the artists. And also we want to offer an experience to our fan base and the DC DMV community of comfort and class. So just like this classy vibe where you come in with your date, you come in with your significant other or yourself and be able to enjoy some high quality music in a stripped down fashion, have some focaccia and spritz. Ooh, more intimate. What an experience. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like that idea. Yeah. Because we do a lot of shout out So Far Sounds shows, which is a more intimate, like secret show in like, you know, random venues around the DMV. And we were like, yo, let's do it. I want to do one, but produce it ourselves and then have our own music and then still run it the way we do our shows, have Geo host, have, the full band, but then just strip it down and offer a side to us that the audience hasn't seen yet. But also make it exclusive, make it like only a small amount of people can come. Right. Also, the space we got is a little on the smaller side, but just being able to offer that side to us that the audience hasn't seen. So that's going to be on March 30th. We haven't thought of a name yet, but please stay tuned. If you guys follow me at Leafy_tree, or you guys can follow us at the WRIZZARDS, WRIZZARDS. We'll announce it very, very soon, but we're very excited about it. It's a new thing that we're doing, and with new things come with a lot of learning. So that's what I'm excited for. It's to learn how we can optimize it for the next one and this and that. And also all of these shows are always going to market us as artists individually, but also our brand. So we got that coming up. What else? It's like so many. He's like, what else? It's like he can't even keep track. Yeah, it's also like, this is a song that I'm promoting for myself, but it's also co-written by the WRIZZARDS and helped out, produced and the production of everything, and because we were very collaborative people, we write together. If I can't think of anything, it's great to have 3 other people. It's like, hey, what do you guys think?
Yep.
So our song with Tina Carzon and I called Butterflies is coming out a couple of days after Valentine's Day, February 16th. It's this love song that's just like a classic vibe that just makes you feel good and feel like I don't want to be single today, like or thinking like, oh, I need to find a bae. So it's called Butterflies. You guys can pre-save it now. It is a WRIZZARDS production, and I'm very excited to release it. So check it out. Oh, what else is happening? Oh, we're I guess applying for the Tiny Desk.
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, that's gonna happen. I can't wait for that.
February 17th is our due date, but we're gonna be releasing a bunch of content from that, whether we make it or not. I think it's just a great way to, kind of like the intimate show, strip down our arrangements and have it focus on the music and on the artists and everything. So, and then we're planning our midsummer show. The venue we haven't booked yet, but that's coming up, and then our end of the year show. So we're a little more kind of foreshadowing a bunch of things, but also starting early and making sure we preparing and everything.
So is all of it, most of it.
Yeah, so a lot of the year is already in the works.
Yeah,
in the works.
Crazy because we're only in February, which is crazy. Guys, everything that Leif just went over, everything will be available in the description, but then also on the WRIZZARDS Instagram, Leif's Instagram, Matt's, Tina's, the whole gang. I'll link it below, but that's where you'll see all the information. So follow. That's where you first, anything they want to know is on that. You'll announce it.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Sure. So just one-stop shop, which would be their Instagram. Please go follow, stream their music. I will also add my favorite songs of all of them. I don't want to sway you guys, but there's so please make sure you follow, guys, everywhere. I really do appreciate it. Leif, this was so much fun.
This was amazing.
The fact that you're no, but I have anxiety or something with you. You are such a natural or a great actor, like you mentioned.
Thank you. But also I want to give it to you for offering the space and having me so comfortable, and how, even just like how you texted me before we got here, and how I think you really help alleviate a lot of my social anxiety when it comes to things like this. And really, I am not even paying attention to these cameras or these lights or this microphone. It's just a conversation, and I got to give it to you. So I appreciate that.
You're very sweet, Leif. That's what I always want, guys, this episodes to be like. It's just 2 pals on a couch talking. So that's very kind of you. Thank you for saying that, Leif. That is the end of our episode, guys. Notice how we literally talked for so long, one of the cameras died, which is insane. So I'm like, hey. So I'm just going to use this camera.
Just got these 2. Yeah.
Be sure to like, comment,
You good?
Yeah. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. I appreciate you, Leif, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Again, guys, please go stream all of his music and WRIZZARDS, all of their music. Please go stream. And maybe I'll see you at one of their shows. It's hilarious. I'm peeking over at your shot here. As always, guys, take care. And I'll see you in our next episode. Take care, guys.
Peace. That was awesome.